remain the
U.S.
same.
Customs and Border
Why am I
Protection
not
says it
surprised?
should have a process ready in about 45 days to start refunding invalidated tariffs to hundreds of thousands of companies. In a filing
Ooh.
today, CBP told the Court of International Trade that it couldn't immediately comply with the judge's order to refund the tariffs.
And this is what's kind of BS about all this too, is that although you may have a bunch of companies who are ultimately going to request refunds on the tariffs that they may have had to pay now that those tariffs have been deemed illegal or unconstitutional, the average person doesn't get to see any benefit of that. These companies will essentially have pushed those costs onto the consumer, of which then they will get a refund. So even though they didn't pay those costs necessarily, they rose prices to essentially account for those tariffs. So they pass those prices on to us. They'll get a refund for having passed those prices on to us. They'll probably keep their prices the same as they have been, and we won't get shit. We won't get anything. So there's a certain degree of like refunds shouldn't even be going to these companies. They should be going to everyday Americans. They should be going to the people that ultimately, at the end of the day, were the ones that had to pay for the tariffs, which was us. But is that what's going to happen? Is there going to be like a big class action lawsuit of which to argue that we should be the ones receiving that money? I would hope so. But
After the
I
U.S.
doubt it.
Supreme Court recently ruled them illegal. Many large companies, including Costco, FedEx, and Kohl's, have sued the Trump administration for refunds. Some have pledged to pass on any compensation directly to customers.
And so, yeah, exactly what I was just saying. These companies are suing, of which to get tariff refunds, of which they pledge that they will pass those savings back on to consumers. There's no legal mandate of which, and maybe I could be wrong, maybe a pledge is, there's enough legality with that, but I don't believe there's anything legally that requires them of which to pass those savings on to everyday people. It's not like a one-to-one thing though. Like you're not like, so what? You're going to give a percentage off of all of your goods for a certain period of time in which you determine that, okay, now we've essentially given the tariff refunds back to the consumers. Like, how does that make any sense? Why wouldn't it be far simpler to just say, the companies don't need the refunds. Average people need the refunds. Let's just give the average people the refunds for, like, if essentially we were paying those tariffs and it was like a certain percentage of income out of a certain person's pocket, then that person should get that percentage of their income back, essentially, if that makes any sense. Because obviously that's going to be proportional depending on the person. I don't trust the fact that they say they've pledged to give that money back.
Sued the Trump administration for
BS.
refunds.
And if
Texas
it does
to Iowa
happen,
are at
it will not be proportional to what we actually paid. Because like whatever they said, like it was $160 billion were paid in tariffs or whatever the case may be. Even if they were to pass on that money, say they did do something, it's not going to be the full amount. 50% maybe, and even that's being generous. Like presumably it would be far less than that percentage wise, but would actually get returned to the average person because they don't give a shit. The only reason they would sue is because they want that money. Essentially, they're suing of which to get money that wasn't even theirs to begin with, line their own pockets even more.